The Bliss Business Podcast, the show about empathy, connection, and consciousness in business. Today's episode is brought to you by Zero Company, your paid search, social media, and programmatic ad experts.
All right, we're gonna have to talk about that basketball after.
Was it Lakers or who?
So it's a little bit of a couple of from several teams. So I have my favorite's Luka Doncic from Dallas Mavericks.
Luka's great.
But
Hello and
Jordan, Pippen, a bunch of them.
Let's get rolling. We are live. Hello, welcome back to the show, everyone. We are going to dive into the hospitality and travel industry and innovative work and tech of the future with our guest today. I'm Steven Zakash here again with Mike Lewski. We are live. If you have any questions or comments, send them along. Mike, introduce our special guest today.
Oh man, excited to, Steven. I really appreciate it. And also welcome back to our live show for our followers and our guests. So today we have with us Flavio Strianese. He's a leader who transforms non-technical visions into thriving digital solutions. His career has spanned from law, which we just talked a little bit about earlier, right, Flavio? All the way to hospitality and now technology. With Striano, he specializes in demystifying technology and making it accessible for entrepreneurs and business owners, which we know is really important to our followers. He's also the co-founder of Rooms101.io, which you'll want to stick around during the show because you're going to learn a little bit more about that. It's a revolutionary platform in the property management solution space. Flavio's approach, I find this in life and in business really unique, emphasizes empathy, clarity, and innovation. And with such a diverse career, he offers unique insights into different industries, how they've evolved, and how they can thrive in our world today that is so digitally led. So we're thrilled to have him with us here today. I'm sure you're excited to listen to the show. Flavio, welcome to our show.
Mike, thanks. And Stephen, thank you for having me. Wow, when I hear from somebody else, it sounds like a mouthful, right? It's like, whoa, is he talking about me or what? But in retrospective, when you look back to what you've done, I think I've been around a little bit and I've changed careers. And I think that allowed me to actually create Striano and help people in a way that somebody else maybe can, because they didn't have all those switches, all those swings in careers. Mm-hmm. And luckily I was able to identify from each career, which thing helped me. I started with law. I'm originally from Argentina, so I started law back there. I specialized almost 10 years in tax law. Boring. And I was playing like the bad guy because I ended up, so I worked in KPMG as an auditor, but then I changed to a similar organization like the IRS. So I was collecting taxes basically. Then after that, I moved to London and switched to hospitality, which wasn't completely out of the blue, because in parallel to my job, I was hosting people on Airbnb. So I had a flat and an extra room. Then I rented a studio. So that was my first approach to hospitality.
Oh wow! And
I loved it, so I kept doing it. And before moving to London, I said I'm not gonna be able to work as a lawyer, definitely. So I did a bar management course. I knew that I needed to switch. I first did a stop in Barcelona. A friend of mine was doing an MBA there, and he said, hey, you can crash in my couch and try to get a job here. We're talking about 2013. Spain was not in a good position to get a job. Yeah. So I struggled for a month there and ended up networking on LinkedIn. And a guy from Argentina that was living in London told me, hey, send your CV to these agencies. Give it a try. I did. I went there, had a couple of interviews, landed 2 jobs on a Thursday. On Monday, I was working already 14-hour shifts. It was crazy. It was that part of my life. I was working 6 days a week, 14 to 16 hours, but it was really rewarding. And then I speak a lot, so you tell me, guys, when you want me to speak.
Hey, no, I want to talk about that a little bit. How does something like, I love it when people have these diverse backgrounds of things. So how does something like tax law help with another industry like hospitality or starting rooms 101? I'm sure there's something in there like, attention to detail or
exactly
that you might give. What do you think that is?
Actually, when I started looking back to it, in law, you have to read a lot, you have to concentrate, focus a lot, and analyze several things. So back in Argentina, we don't have a law system like here in the States that it's common law. So you're based on previous cases. Back in Argentina, you have laws and you have procedures for each type of law. So you actually have somebody already told you this is supposed to be done like this, like that, and you have a bunch of books like this you have to study and then apply it to a case. So that requires, as you mentioned, attention to detail, analytic thinking, and basically then merging the theory with the practical case. And I used to love to do that because then you could navigate like the gray areas of law and the particular case to make your point and win it. When I moved to hospitality, it was like a little bit different, but still detail, but it's not about you and how you see it. It's about how your guest wants it, what they want. And it's trying to analyze and anticipate what your guest is going to want, is going to need. And that's why you have so much information gathered from the guests previous the stay, during the stay, and after the stay. So the next time they stay with you, they don't have to spend time or effort telling you, hey, remember that I liked my pillow like this, my room set up this way, and I like to have fresh water, or I don't know, fruit or whatever. You already know that. So it's in your responsibility to make that happen. And then transition into technology, I kind of merge those two. And when when somebody finds an issue, I didn't think it that way before, but now so when I found an issue, I tried to solve it with whatever I had in hand, right? So for me, it was like building an Excel sheet or trying to do something a different way. Now putting technology into play, it opened up a different world. Like with technology, you have almost no limitations. And it helps you streamline and improve performance a lot. And I know that people, especially in hospitality, are very reluctant to use technology because it's still like a one-to-one, a person industry. It's like when you go to a hotel, to Airbnb or whatever, you would like to see a person, to talk to somebody, to be hosted by a human being that understands what you're going through. But what people don't see sometimes is like there's a lot of tasks behind the curtains of hospitality that takes you a lot of time, a lot of people, and that's when technology comes in. All those tasks that add no value to the relationship with the guest need to be addressed, in my point of view, by technology.
Yeah, Flavio, let's talk about a little bit.
So the people have free time to what? To cater the guest.
Right.
Yeah. I think that's one of the biggest challenges in hospitality is it's that time, that you've got to, people don't realize just how pressed for time you kind of always are in a lot of ways. Let's talk a little bit about Rooms 101. Like what problems does this solve for people in the lodging business? I'm sure like time.
Yeah, of course. That's one of it.
Sure, right.
So Rooms 101.
Tell people a little about what that is and, kind of the problems.
Okay, so this idea evolved during the years. So when I was doing my master's in hotel management, the pandemic started. So I ended up doing it during pandemic, and going to hotels and different establishments. I noticed that there was a shortage of services offered online. So I had like this idea that I never got to do it, to do like an app or a service page to request services from the hotel. I can kick myself in the back now, not for pursuing that, because pandemic ended and every single brand and hotel had their app, and you could do everything online on the mobile. So taking that example, I said, okay, let's find something else and actually get it done. And when I worked in a hotel in London, there was a disconnect. So you would see them using, and I worked as a waiter, I worked in private events, and I ended up working as a night auditor in front desk. So basically in the evening, I was looking at everything. And they had all, pardon?
You said there's a disconnect. So what do you mean by that?
So they were using different systems for different areas and different tasks, but that information was not connected. They didn't have like a dashboard or some hub to put everything together and have like a
log in here, gotta log in there, gotta log in here.
So my job basically was like log in into all those places, download the information, build the reports, print it, and put it on everybody's manager's desk in the morning. And I was already kind of a nerd for technology, and I saw people walking around with tablets. So I would say, why instead of printing it that we can save cost on paper and ink, I just send the PDF over email? And everyone was looking at me like, I don't know. So I started collecting all those ideas throughout the years. And then I connected it with my experience as a host on Airbnb. And what I struggled most when I was in Airbnb is the exposure. So I only was listing it in Airbnb. So the amount of people that could book my place was just limited to that audience. So with Rooms 101, what I started thinking is more like a channel manager. So you upload it there, it spreads VRBO, Booking, Expedia, Airbnb, Google My Business Profile, and even you have your own website, so they can book directly with you, and you avoid some of the fees or the fees that other websites charge you. Then I left it on the side for a while because I opened Striano, basically. But Striano then enabled me, gave me more experience on the product side of building products to actually now press the gas and like going forward with it and try to get the MVP launched by the end of the year or even before then.
Yeah. So would you say, just thinking about Rooms 101, is that something that would help like a beginner with a single property, or is it someone with multiple properties, or both? How would you say that would help like someone in that?
So ideally for us, we're targeting, or our audience would be people that are just starting, because I partnered with a coach, and his business is basically teaching people how to get started with their business, and how to. And these are people that, as you said, they have 1 to 5 properties. Mm-hmm. They don't use any systems, or not even maybe spreadsheets or a book. Like
they're just doing the same thing you were doing at the hotel, right? Probably
exactly.
And
exactly. So imagine that for them,
quadrupling the time it takes for them to
exactly. And on top of that, they're like blocking their own calendar. So if they got booked on one website, they have to block it before it gets booked on the other one. Right. Otherwise, you get double booking, and that's a big issue. More work, basically, because you have to be apologizing to one, hey, sorry, it's not available anymore, or choose because maybe the other booking it's more profitable, so you have to cancel the other one. So there's a lot of things juggling out there, and the platform actually is going to be a big lift for them because they have their calendar synced, pricing, messaging, reporting, all the dashboard. And we want to actually end the coaching, of course. So we want to start with something that is going to be simple for them, not overwhelm them. And once they start progressing and growing their business, then we start putting in more features, and adding value actually to what they do.
I think you can kind of see, like with technology and hospitality, you had the 90s, everything going online, and you get all these platforms, and you have these platforms that blow up and take off. And now you got other platforms to interface with all these different platforms. That's kind of the evolution where we're at, is creating technologies like Rooms 101 that'll help people save time in hospitality and travel business, where, as you have all this proliferation of these different platforms, you need to have something exactly like this solution, I think, in there.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I'd say too, it's going to deliver a better experience, right? So hopefully you're building that loyalty with those customers.
Actually, it's like one of the main focus that we take on every product that we build. It's user experience, and we talked a little bit about earlier before going live. It's the empathy with the user and how empathy it's spread on technology, or how it is used in technology. And empathy in technology is basically trying to think outside of yourself. You're not building something for you, you're building something for a bigger audience. So you need to try to put yourself in somebody else's shoes and imagine how they're going to navigate that platform, how they're going to navigate that website. And we're talking about simpler things. Like now we have accessibility limitations sometimes in tech. And I'm sure that you've seen when you go to a website, you have a little icon in somewhere there on the screen, that when you click on it, it offers you a couple of options. Either it's a reader for somebody that it's that they cannot see, blind person, or it changes the contrast of the colors because they have difficulty looking at the screen, or enables keyboard controls because they cannot use a mouse pad or a trackpad. So all those little things are the ones that we need to have into consideration right now, because even this is unbelievable. I learned this a couple months ago, probably, but when you're trying to position yourself in Google, and that's organic, that's one of the things that the algorithm as well takes and calculates. And that's amazing. I mean, because taking into consideration something that has this ability to make you go up and down in the rankings, for me, it's great, because it's forcing us to see the wider picture and say, hey, there's more people with different skills, different capabilities than us, and they need to participate in the same things that we're doing.
Yeah, and I think it's especially kind of a big deal in the hospitality industry. Like you said, I mean, the hospitality industry, really, empathy is pretty much like a must-have skill, as you kind of mentioned there. We've got a question here for you, Flavio.
Okay.
Let's see. As you look toward the future, this is from Martha. As you look toward the future hospitality and property management with Rooms 101, what emerging technologies do you think will have the biggest impact on the industry?
I mean, it's pretty much out there, and it's AI. Fancy word to say smarter technology, but it's a game changer, and not only in hospitality but in every single industry. I mean, I work in technology, and I use AI almost every single day. The caveat there is like how to use it. People sometimes have a false expectation or what AI is capable of, or also you have the ethics as well involved in there, and say, where should I use it, or when should I use it? I had a couple of discussions or arguments with even clients about this, that they ask AI how to do a certain thing, and then tell us how to do it. And I'm like, that's great, but you need to understand that we have experience, or we have a team of developers with more than 10 years of experience. They're actually engineers. And AI, it's super smart, but it doesn't have access to your platform, to your architecture, to your infrastructure, to the conditions that your platform is built in. So AI will give you a generic answer that is not going to apply to your particular case, unless you train it and you give it a lot of context. A lot of context. I mean, for me to use it, it took me, I would say, a couple of days and a lot of files, a lot of websites, a lot of back and forth with questions to perfect the model and actually get the answers that I wanted or that I needed. And not because it's close to what I would answer, but it's closer to what actually is useful for the people that I'm giving the information to. And in hospitality, I think the barrier is going to be a little bit bigger, because this thing of the human touch, the human communication, but AI, it's advancing super fast, like super fast. If we thought that mobile phones, computers, and other kind of technology, they were evolving fast, man, AI is like every single day.
Where we were last year this time to where we are now. Pretty
exponential.
It's amazing. It's amazing.
Yeah, so we're in the middle ourselves. Oh wait, Tulio's chiming in here. Tulio's bugging us with the question he wants to ask. Why now? What makes the right time for this type of solution?
So are you referring of Rooms 101 or AI?
Tulio, come on, tell us here. Give us a little more detail on your question. He said Rooms 101. He wants to know.
Okay, so Rooms 101, what we saw, and as I mentioned, I started this project a couple of years ago, but it was like switching. It first started it was thought to be a PMS, so a property management system for hotels, because I was coming out from a hotel and I saw the shortcomings of their operations and how it could be improved. Then I went into do my master's because I wanted to have a little bit more of knowledge of the industry, like professional or theoretical knowledge, to actually develop that platform. And I connected and I met a lot of people that actually showed me or taught me why the things were done that way and why the industry was not changing. So I was up against a huge monster, and it was going to be like a very difficult task to do it alone. And then after that, I came across a former manager of mine that opened a company of managing short-term rentals. And I saw the opportunity there because he said every single time so I was traveling to London 2 times a year because I'm developing my business as well there. And every time that I got together with him, he was complaining about his platform. And in the term of 3 or 4 trips that I did there, he switched, I think, 2 or 3 times platforms.
Wow.
And he was complaining about different things. So it was not like
the business opportunity is when someone is annoyed or is resenting something that's going on, a process or sometime.
And that annoyance is consistent.
Yes.
Like happening all the time. And the weird thing for me is like, he wasn't complaining just about one feature. He said that changing from one platform to the other, he had to give up some features to get other ones. So, and that for me was super weird, because normally when you do your market research, you look for a minimum, for an MVP, that's minimum valuable product. And that's something that that these features I must have this. Right. Otherwise, if I put it out there, nobody's going to buy it. Yeah. Nobody's going to even care about it. And when we double clicked on that, we couldn't really find a technical, even if it was because the features one feature was in one platform, but not the other, but this feature was in this platform and not the third one. Yeah. So when we analyzed it from the back end, it wasn't hard to do. It wasn't super complicated, but it requested time and budget. So probably those were the decisions, or the target audience. As you said, Stephen, before, is like you have 1 to 5 properties, then you might have 10 to 50, or you might have a hotel. So these platforms, sometimes they're trying to target everyone, or small boutique hotels and entrepreneurs. And in my belief, you need to start with one niche and then learn. When you are successful with that particular audience, then you can think on expanding and moving into another target. And right now is the time for me because I found the right partner.
Yeah.
So Quentin was introduced to me by the guy that manages my PR. And when I was talking about the platform, he was like, "Hey, wait, what does your platform do?" I'm like, "It's supposed to manage properties or help." And he's like, wait, I need to connect you with this guy. He's like doing coaching, he's doing super well, and he wants his own platform. So it was
So yeah, that's just
like
like
meant to be, you would say. Yeah.
Win-win.
So we started talking, and now we have talks like almost every single day, and we connected. So now that synergy to work together made us push it. And we see the opportunity because there's a lot of people, this is from him, like there's a lot of people getting into that business, investing in properties, and either do short-term rentals or long-term rentals, but there's a lot of people investing in real estate.
Yeah, it's a big market for sure. So, Flavio, earlier we were talking a little bit about how you have helped companies, with their technology and their development. I think you mentioned it eventually became a book, right? Now, where is it that we can find the book?
So, for all your audience, if you want to get a free digital copy of the book, you have it down there. I think, it's striano.info.
Okay.
And basically, it's a step-by-step to guide somebody that wants to develop a solution for a problem using technology. And if you follow those steps and you do the homework, because it's not just out of the blue, out of the box, you need to do your homework and complete all the steps. But we give you examples, we give you even tools to use, free tools to use, how to complete all those. And this came up organically because when I started talking to potential clients, they wouldn't have a document where, like a story, telling me what they wanted to do. It was in their heads, but it was difficult to work with. So I started first doing like a questionnaire, like I think it was like 20 questions or something like that. So 1 page. Then when I realized that it was actually working for them because they were returning that document and even adding things, I learned from the things that they added. I eliminated questions that were not important, and I ended up, so at first it was like 10 steps, then I shut it down. I shorted it to 5 steps. Then it was like, no, this is too short. So it ended up being 7. It turned into a 10-page document, then 20-page document. And the people were like, actually, after reading it and completing it, they would have an actionable document that either you can give me to analyze it, assess the effort, and give you a proposal, or you can go to Fiverr or window shopping or whatever,
Right.
and you deliver that. It's basically your requirements for your system. So I kept on going because I was getting feedback, I was getting replies, and I never thought of doing the book. But then my PR guy said, "Hey, what's going on with this document? Every time that I look at it, it's bigger and bigger and bigger." And I'm like, "Well, my clients are replying. They're asking for more insights or more things to work on, and I just need to expand it." And he said, "Well, expand it more, man. I need 40 pages from you."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Oh my God, okay, let's get to work." But they helped me as well with a copywriter, because I mean, I admire those guys. I was pretty succinct, and like what I said in one phrase, they can turn it into a whole page or a paragraph, to make it more digestible to the readers.
Yeah.
So he ended up doing this step by step. And next step with this, it's doing a webinar, and then fingers crossed, a workshop.
Yeah. Oh, well, I mean, I can see how that would really, help, because it, can take something that might seem like very complex in my mind or in someone's mind, and be able to put that down in paper, and then really just, be able to help the individual. And then from there, I guess talk to us a little bit more about how you would help them with that, and then connect them to the right technologies or how to go about it, right? Because it's one thing, I guess, to get it on paper, but then developing it, right, is a whole nother thing.
Yeah. So basically, the whole idea behind this is turning an idea into software. We identify somebody, or we meet somebody that, hey, I have this idea. It would be cool to have this, and that. My first question always, because sometimes people said don't focus on the solution, but no, focus on the problem. If you didn't find a problem to solve, it doesn't matter how big of an idea you have, you're not going to be helping anybody. So nobody's going to buy it. And you're building a business out of it, or at least you want to build a business around it. So we need to validate if there's an issue, if that issue is not only by a couple of people, but it has an audience. And then if that solution that you thought is actually solving it. And then when you take a step forward, you start scratching the surface, maybe, and it happens a couple of times with clients that they thought that this was the original problem, but when we started talking to potential users, there was something completely different. That problem that he identified was a consequence of the other one. And we ended up solving the original problem and eliminating this consequence. And that we cannot do it by ourselves, because we don't have the expertise on the industry, on the day-to-day tasks. We do have the expertise on scratching the surface, on annoy you, basically, on asking you questions that you don't want to answer and all that. But that's why we sometimes use the phrase, we challenge back. We push until we find the right thing to address and then move forward with it.
That's a really creative way of being able to get down to, the right solution, right? You need the right solution for the right problem.
Exactly. Yeah, definitely. And for them to actually have a document where it has all the things that needs to be done to solve that problem, and then you don't have any shackles with me or any commitment, you can do then whatever you want with that. I provided that value. I helped you put that idea down into paper, validate it first, and try to also put it in front of potential users. That, for me, that's why we also say get the MVP as quick as possible out to the market.
Right.
A lot of clients, they come to us with a list so long of features. I like to get, there's an expression back in Argentina that is like a bag of cats, right? So there's a lot of things going on there, and you just need to start pulling them out and saying, yeah, this is good, this not. And you end up with a bottleneck and saying, okay, we need to reduce this and see what are the must-haves. These must-haves, you build it, you get it out. Because then, and we're not reinventing the wheel. Let's be clear. This is not something that someday I had like a weird dream or something and it occurred to me. No, big companies, Microsoft, Apple, Adobe, IBM, all of them, they do this. They throw at us products and we find the holes. We are their testers. I'm sure that if you use Windows or Mac iOS or PDFs or all that, at some point you complain, man, what's going on here? Why this doesn't work? Why it happened like this? Well, maybe you don't send feedback to them, but there's a lot of people that get so frustrated that they send emails and emails and emails, and that's what they do. The only thing that we're doing is we're enabling that process to smaller companies, startups, or entrepreneurs that maybe they think that because they're small, they cannot use the same framework. Because that, at the end of the day, that's what we're trying to build. A framework, a formula that you can replicate in different companies.
Yeah, they're having the same problems.
I know for ourselves, we've gone through the process over the past year with developing our AI software, the AI Chief Marketing Officer at aicmo.io. And we're getting ready to launch. But yeah, through that process, we've been like, nope, that's got to go. That's got to go. We're going to hold that for later. Hold that for later. Make sure we've got this, this, and this, and this needs to work right. And, especially, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry to cut you off, but also there's a huge burden on the person that is trying to build a platform thinking, what next? Why do I do next? And when you launch it and you actually have users, you kind of unburden yourself of that or leave that back to the side. Why? Because they're going to tell you what to do. You don't need to start banging your head against the wall and say, oh my God, what am I going to offer now that I already built 20 features? You don't have to do that. You have to listen to them, because they're going to be using your platform every single day. And they're going to tell you, hey man, this is not working. This is great, but, or I saw this other platform that does this. Can you improve it or make something similar? And then for you, it's a completely different game. Then you're listening to them and you're prioritizing what you're going to do first based on your business goals and the demand of your users.
Yeah, I think that's really important. We've got, in a way, the way our company runs, we've got the digital agency, and they're kind of the users to start with. So we're getting the feedback internally like, hey, how about this? How about this? This could really help, or this isn't helping at all. So it's kind of this lab kind of tech situation going on in there where we're like, okay, we know kind of to some extent what's next, but then we've also got to bring people in from outside a little bit while we're going through this process. So, we know like our product's going to be really good for people in the hospitality industry. And we've had people in there from the hospitality industry playing around with it and stuff. Because our goal is really, it's to help you build empathy and emotional connection in your marketing and to find your higher purpose in your business in that process. And, hospitality is all about so much about empathy, right? Like you were talking about earlier. So we've got all these tools in there. And like I said, we had to throw a few out, but we've got some in there that are just like perfect for hospitality. We've got one that works on the surprise and delight consumption emotion, which is when someone's coming to a place and there's that little unexpected something that you weren't, that came for free. And you see that in hospitality and hotels all the time. Maybe it's a bottle of champagne or something special that turned down service.
Above and beyond.
Yeah. So we've got a tool there that help brainstorm those kind of ideas for your business. And I mean, that's just like they go hand in hand with hospitality and that surprise and delight consumption emotion, which is just huge for building that customer loyalty and, getting those kind of good vibes, that warm feeling when you're staying at a place or something like that. And then we've also got yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. And I think you have a great opportunity there, because it's like you have a combination of internal users. So you are getting unfiltered feedback basically, because they're your colleagues, they work for you, and basically it's a business that needs to move forward. So everything that you do, they're gonna be pretty close with it, right? And then you have external users that probably sometimes they're gonna be more careful, but other times they're gonna be like trying to massacre you and saying, hey, why would I use your platform? That's the biggest question. Is like, what is your platform providing me that I need to choose before or from another bunch of those that I have out there? And you listening to both sides, that's amazing.
Yeah, and as well, I mean, one of the advantages of AI that's really tricky to test sometimes is that personalization, because it can be like really good for hospitality, but really good for maybe a tax law, or something like that, or what other, the different business, and you have to make it kind of all work together, for each different business. And it does just kind of a masterful job when you, like you said, when you get some of the right programming in there to do it the right way. So for us, in that marketing background, we have so many different clients from so many different industries that we're constantly seeing how these tools work with them. But I'm really pleased with particularly how it works with hospitality, with that personalization, with things like we've got a kindness communicator tool in there that'll help you with that, like customer, guest complaint or something, to be able to respond to that in a empathetic, nice manner. Or even there's this visual advisor tool in there. Take a picture of like your lobby or your room, and it's like, how can I improve this to make it more welcoming or something like that? And it'll give you feedback on that, which is just kind of blows you away.
It's good that you're taking that look, because nowadays you have platforms out there that for hospitality that you can upload pictures or the listings, and it goes over it and it tells you, hey, this picture is too dark, this picture is not very clear, the setup here. So it gives you actual feedback about what pictures you need to choose to sell better your space. Even with the copy that you're using for the listing, there's other tools that are basically doing market research. So you drop a pin and you say, I'm gonna post or list a hotel here for 50 rooms, 3 stars, and it makes a comparison around you, what's happening. So it gives you already kind of a initial benchmarking of what you're trying to do. But yeah, it's great. And hospitality, for me, I love it, and I still think that it's an industry that is far behind the technology curve.
Oh, yeah.
They were forced to leap forward during pandemic, but they are pretty reluctant to. And slowly they're learning that they could have a lot of benefits by using technology, and especially, like we mentioned a couple of times, freeing time, making more time available for their employees, their staff, to focus on the guests.
Yeah, I know that just from my experience in the lodging industry way back when. It's just so many like innkeepers and people like that are just so pressed with time, and it's like, I don't have time to do all the marketing I know I need to do, and it's just kind of another thing pressing on them. So anything that you can free up time certainly is just, you get your ROI on it, I think, in the hospitality industry.
Definitely.
One last question before we wrap up. So you've had such a kind of varied and successful career. From your perspective, what would you say is the importance of love in the hospitality business? How important is that?
I think love, it's important not only in hospitality business. I think it's important in every single industry.
Tax, or even like tax collecting.
Every single
that's where it's lacking, right?
Yeah.
Maybe.
You would say that it's difficult to love tax, but when I started working there, I was a little bit in love with tax and that idea of collecting taxes, because I knew what the money was gonna be used for. But then when you finally realize that it's not happening, then you get the heartbreak. But in hospitality, it's funny. It's like, I remember this particular day that I did a double shift, and I started working on an afternoon tea. So we worked from 4 p.m. in the afternoon, a little bit earlier because we had to set up. We finished around 7 p.m. We need to break down everything. And then they ask, okay, we have a last minute breakfast. Who's staying to set up and then maybe do the breakfast? And I was like, wait, a couple months ago, I was behind the desk with a pile of files and completely bored, like feeling not lifeless, but I don't know how to say it. It's like not motivated. Like, and at that time, it's like, yeah, man, I'm gonna do it. And I remember being outside carrying chairs from the storage room to the event room, and looking up, and it was this is very cinematic, but it happened. I'm not making this up. And it was like sunrise, and I said to myself, and I was tired. I was really tired. By that time, I already worked 14 hours. And I said to myself, man, if I'm not loving this, because of what I'm doing, then I don't know what kind of job I'm gonna love to keep doing it. And we set everything up. I was willing to stay for breakfast, but my manager sent me home because he saw every time that I was leaning towards something, I was falling asleep. But I think in hospitality, especially when you are affecting others with what you feel towards your job. Imagine that all of us travel, all of us go to a restaurant, to a hotel, and we had maybe a bad day or a bad experience, but these people, they have the same bad day that we did, but they have that responsibility of not passing that to us because we are enjoying our meal, we are enjoying our holidays, we are enjoying a stroll around town or whatever. And it's really difficult. It's really difficult to put that, I wouldn't say mask, but that make that switch. And with this, I wrap up. And I remember one event, we were doing afternoon tea. I had a terrible, terrible day. I was in a very bad mood. And my manager was looking at me and at one point said, "Man, how are you so bad tempered back here and like putting everybody in a bad mood? And then when you cross the door, you're smiling and talking to the guest and is everything perfect?" And I didn't use these words. I used like less appropriate words, but I said, "Man, those people out there, they are not to blame for how we work back here." And that for me was also like a game changer when I face new jobs and everything. But I always end up coming back to hospitality.
I love that so much.
That's beautiful.
Flavio, where should people go online to find more about you or get in touch?
So if you want to get a free copy of the book, striano.info, or if you want to just check out about the company, it's striano.io.
It's been a pleasure having you on the show.
Perfect.
Thank you for joining us today. And thank you to our listeners. We will be back on Tuesday, and we will see you then on the next Bliss Business Podcast.